If a man with the old covenant could operate the spirit of excellence, so must I, and so can I. And so this morning we want to know, how can we be a worker with the spirit of excellence? A worker with an excellent spirit. And if you really have been looking for work, or you're looking for open doors, opportunities and promotion, I believe what you should actually begin to key into is to have and to possess an excellent spirit. And why is it necessary? Matthew chapter 9 verse 38. For the work of the Lord, whether you're a pastor, you're a worker in the church, or you're actually a worker in the mainstream business line, or in the marketplace, everywhere you go, people need to have this excellent spirit. It is needed. But particularly in the kingdom, in the work of God. And that is why Jesus said to the disciples, pray for it. It's scarce. What you ask for are not things that you easily come by. As a matter of fact, in God's kingdom, it was discovered to be one of the greatest need of the hour as far back as 2,000 years ago. And that is why in Matthew chapter 9 verse 38, therefore pray the Lord of harvest to send out laborers into his harvest. And why would he demand that they have to pray? Because if you have to give harvest to men who don't have an excellent spirit, they're going to waste their harvest. At the time of harvest, if you are not careful and you are not fast, whatever it is that is the harvest can decay, the harvest can be eaten, the harvest can spoil, it can be stolen. So you need men that have excellent spirit who can go into your farm and harvest for you and return the goods the way that they are from the farm. An excellent spirit. So let's go deeper and further into this excellent spirit that every worker needs to have, so that you can be able to present your work in a way that you will not be ashamed. Verse 19 says, nevertheless, the solid foundation of God stands, having this seal. The Lord knows those who are his. It's at that realm of excellence in your spirit that you align with God. He knows you. And let everyone who names the name of Christ depart from iniquity. Depart from iniquity. Iniquity is something that every man and every woman should strive to depart from. Why? Because surely any man or woman who continues to walk the work of iniquity, or continues with the workers of iniquity, you cannot think that God will be confused. No. The solid foundation of God stands. There's a seal on it, and God knows what you do. God knows those that are his. Why be his worker, and then at the end of the day, you will be rejected? He will say, I know you not. I pray for you this morning that you will not be a worker that will not be approved. That after you have struggled, you have worked, you are putting your best, you allow yourself to be corrupted at the end. I know so many who started well, but somewhere along the line, they were almost lost in what they were asked to do. And I discovered that the reason for that is because some of them, they lost out in consistency to finish strong. And there are so many reasons that can cause this. There are things that you have to also learn, the things you have to do to be able to be a worker that will finish strong. One thing I know that affects people a lot is companionship. And I see that with Daniel. Daniel was someone who chose his companion wisely. He had wise friends. He had companion of who? Men like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. If you don't choose your friends well, and you go out to work, you may find yourself hanging out with the wrong people. The Bible says, cursed are those, okay, who stand or walk with the ungodly. The work that they do, they'll be like a parched ground. Why? Because they cannot bring their fruits. When you are with men who are always discussing wrong things, it will not be wrong. It will not be long before you pick up the wrong things. You don't stand with them. It starts with, when you start standing, you start walking. And from walking, standing, you sit. And before you know it, you become one of those lazy, careless workers who destroy things. But then you have a choice, starting from, as you hear this word this morning, to make a change. If you can make a change and walk with an excellent spirit, there's no man that who walks with an excellent spirit that is not promoted. We see that in the life of Daniel. We saw among the three governors he was promoted. He was promoted and he was about to be asked to rule and to head the whole system. And one thing that is unfortunate is that people start off with an excellent spirit. Before you know, they want to join the mediocres. And then you missed it. Because you were about to overtake and you are about to take on the top. But they don't want you to do that. And I believe, God, that no matter how many millions you have invested in your establishment, in your system, or in the church, or in the ministry of mission, until you raise men with an excellent spirit, you have to be on your toes, because you just be there with people who are doing eye service and people who are pretending. And that kind of system, you cannot go far. And that is what most of the developing nations are battling with, because there's really no good system in place to work with staff, except if you take out time to have a good SOP, and then you plan your work, and then you have prayed through, and God gives you the wisdom to actually raise men with excellent spirit. If not, the business or the church or the work in your hands will keep struggling. And actually, I am actually believing God and trusting him that those with me this season will receive this excellent spirit as we fast and as we teach it, because it's actually the practicality of our faith as Christians. All that you know, even the Beatitudes, all that you see, the sermons on the mountain that Jesus is talking about, all that he's trying to bring into the church is how to be workers of what is good. He wants us to have an excellent spirit. But I discovered that where the whole battle starts is with an individual. It starts with me, it starts with you. Now be conscious that you are mind, your soul, body, and your spirit. And at every time people walk, most times people are more interested in people's walk, and they just look at their mind and how they walk, but they leave the spirit. And that's where the problem is. So I would want to focus or zoom in more into the spirit of the walker, the spirit of the walker. And that spirit of the walker, when you begin to understand it and look into it, then you can guide the walker well. The way a human being is created, our mind is in the middle. Our mind is in the middle of the body and also the spirit. Now, the body is full of appetites and the spirit is full of desires. The body is full of what? Appetites. While the spirit is full of what? Desires. While the mind is in the middle. And anybody who understands what are the appetites that is controlling the body, then it will not be difficult for you to be able to understand how the body or the system of the workers operate. And also, if you understand what the spiritual desires are, then you'll be able to manage those that are working with you. And I believe, God, today in Jesus' name, that God is going to open up your spirit, man. Open up your spirit, man, so that you begin to understand what we mean by the body and the appetites of the body. And if you know the body language of a worker and what actually are the appetites of workers, and you also know their spiritual desires, and I mean, when they are negative, then you know that this person will find it difficult to operate with an excellent what? Spirit. In Daniel, the man called Daniel was a man with an excellent spirit. Daniel had an excellent appetite and had excellent spiritual desires. And we're going to keep going deeper into that. So let's look at the excellent spirit that was in him. The excellent spirit that was in him. Let's look at the spirit in the man called Daniel and the excellent spirit that we call forth, that should operate in every man or a worker that have an excellent spirit. Now, a man whose spirit excels is a spirit man that is ruled by the Spirit of Christ. The man called Daniel, his spirit was ruled, and his spirit is ruled by the Spirit of God. And you can see that in his purpose. You can see that in his decision not to defile himself. You can see that in his position and decision to live pleasing to God. And these are the marks of a man with an excellent spirit. And such a man will always be a man with power. And for that, he ruled in 3 kingdoms. When a man has an excellent spirit, that man has a spirit that rules. And I will tell you the direct opposite of that. The direct opposite of the spirit of excellence that rules is the spirit of evil that dominates. Today we are having a big confusion in spirit that dominates and spirit that rules. They are 2 different things. What you see operating today in the world is more like what we call the witchcraft spirit. It's full of manipulations. Most of the market strategies and the things that you see that is happening in the business place today is full of manipulation to dominate people. And you see many Christians have gone into that. These are doing business without the godly principles. What is important is if you can lie, if you can cheat, if you can deceive, whatever you can do, collect their money. Collect that money, get that money, get that position, sell that goods. It doesn't matter whether what you promised, whether what you said, whether what you have guaranteed is real or not. Just get their money. Collect that money from them. And it will be unfortunate because you can't operate in the business world with this spirit of manipulation, and at the same time you return to the house of God and in the work of God, then now you want to rule in the spirit. No, it's not possible. For you to rule in the spiritual world, that is to rule with the spirit of excellence and to rule with the backing of heaven, then you must have aligned your life with the rulings of God. And so you're going to find so many Christians struggling. Why? Because they're living in 2 kingdoms, living 2 worlds, living out 2 standards. It's only as the Spirit of God rules in you do you have communion with God. And I believe God for you in this season that we are going to be training and talking about the excellent spirit. That you're going to allow this spirit of excellence to rise up with you and to retire to bed with you. You just have to have 1 standard. You cannot have 2 standards. The world is full of people with multiple standards. They have different language for their parents. When their children come, they're a different kind of person. When they're with their friends, they're a different kind of person. When they get to work, they're a different kind of work person. So they wear different caps at different times. Fake life, fake living. Can your pastor come home or follow you to your workplace and find the same person working as a worker in the church? It's not possible. You're a different person in the 3 different places. And that is why it's difficult now for the spirit man to rule. I believe God that God is calling us this morning to develop and to have that excellent spirit. So that the spirit man will have that spirit of excellence, then we can rule. God does not deal directly with our body or our mind. God deals with our spirit. His spirit bears witness with our spirit that we are his. And when he finds out that your spirit is constantly contaminated and defiled with the system of the world, then his spirit is not likely to bear witness with your spirit. So this is life on the highest plane of deception for these very 21st generation Christians. Is God's spirit bearing witness in your workplace that you're a child of God? Can somebody come to your business? Even if they don't meet you, they will know that this is a Christian there. This is the beginning of a life that will have peace. This is the beginning of a life that will walk with the desires of the spirit and not the appetites of the flesh. It's unfortunate the appetite of the flesh is growing faster and stronger than the desires of the spirit. The spirit desires to drink of God, while the flesh desires the appetite to eat of the world. And these 2 are constantly at work. They are both fighting daily to take dominion of our soul. The spirit is never satisfied until it has drank the spirit of life. While the flesh does not know God and does not want to be in touch with God, it has constant desire with an appetite to be satisfied. It is an enemy of God. The flesh is what? An enemy of God. And anyone who desires to keep yielding to the flesh shall have great frustration. Shall have great frustration all the time. Because it always has more consciousness of things and life, better life, than it does have of God. The things of God ought to satisfy his spirit. Therefore, I believe, God, that if you want to stop living a life that you continually be disappointed and you keep searching over and over how to reconnect with God, then you must learn how to be ruled by your spirit and not to be controlled by your flesh. What does it take to be a walker with an excellent spirit? Okay, the walker's possess of an excellent spirit is as unique as a spring of a desert. He's one who drinks daily of the living water and has become a fountain of life. A force of such a walker is a great inspiration and mighty power. Such men constitute successful conference, soul-winning people. Whenever you have a team of people who are working with an excellent spirit, whatever you ask them to do, especially when you send them out to impact others, they are excellent. You pick them up as leaders, they do their work and they go ahead and do the extra. When you have such men, you have received that grace like Daniel. Then let's look at that from the book of Daniel from chapter 6 from verse 3. There are men that are preferred. There are men that have spiritual dynamics, seen as good and they do good. The Bible said, then this Daniel distinguished himself above the governors and the satrap because an excellent spirit was in him, and the king gave thoughts to setting him over the whole realm. I'm sure of what I'm saying to you. I'm absolutely sure. There is no way to connect to the top of the realm of affairs in life than to start possessing and start exhibiting excellent spirit. Look at the life of a man that is called who? Joseph. These men actually came into that land as who? They were poor slaves. They had no contact or connection. Sometimes people need to think it's about who you know. It's not. I could imagine Joseph. The day they brought him into the house of Potiphar, he was smelly. What do you think they would have done to him? They would probably keep him near the cage house. Probably where they keep the animals. Maybe the horses, to see what kind of sickness he came with. I mean, this is a man that was coming out from the pit and had traveled. How do you think he was looking? They would shave his hair. I mean, the same people who were shaving his hair, the people who kept him at the pit at the backside. One day he had an opportunity and they said, okay, where is that slave? Let him just go and sweep that compound. See, when a man of an excellent spirit, when you ask him to sweep, do you know what he's going to do? He's not only going to sweep the compound. You know what he will do that day? That day he will wash the car. He will cut the grass that is under the car. He will go to the gate, to the gutter. He will remove the things that are there. He will not stop there. He will wash all the things that you use for sweeping. He would... How do I start now? By the time the boss is coming back, he will know that somebody new entered the system. From the gate, all those things he's seeing, the people who keep littering, the people who walk and they don't return the things they walk with, the people who sweep and they push things by the side, he will suddenly notice, things are different here. 1 week, somebody is scattering and that person is keeping things in order. 3 weeks, you should know that somebody came into your system. If you took a mechanic with an excellent spirit to come and work for you, or you gave your car to a mechanic with an excellent spirit, you will stop having engine problem every day. You will just come, you will say, it's simple capacitor. This is just a problem of maybe 500 naira, he will fix it. Have you met a man with an evil spirit? You are finished. You work engine, tomorrow you come back. You start with carburetor, they will drop that same engine. Next time you come, it is top cylinder. So long as he is collecting money. So long as he's collecting what? Extra money for you. For me, it doesn't take me time to know that I've brought in a witch into the system, because you are going to continue spending and wasting your money. cry and say, this morning, Lord, make me that man with an excellent spirit. Open my doors too, so that I can connect with men, women, daughters, people with an excellent what? Spirit. And so they saw in this Joseph, everything about every area that you gave to him began to do what? Excel. He actually introduced the spirit of excellence that brought in a competition into the system. People wanted to sit up. Because it was every day the master would call, where is Daniel? Every day, where is Joseph? Every day, where is Joseph? Suddenly, Joseph was promoted to start working right inside the house. When he would sweep the house, he would wash the clothes you did not tell him to wash. He will arrange the library you did not tell him to arrange. By the time you return, every single thing in that library, every single thing in that house, every single thing within the system began to work. What fire is like? There's somebody that came into my system. Something is different. And you know what happened? Suddenly, one day the cook did not come. And then Joseph entered the kitchen. That was the day the problem of Potiphar's wife started. Daniel cooked his own meat. Everything was well cooked. Calabar women, they were only taught right. The whole kitchen turned around. Potiphar's wife will cook and bring. Daniel will say the food is Potiphar will say the food is not what? Can you ask Daniel to go and prepare that meal? That was how the problem. Joseph, my spirit is on this Daniel, you know. And that was how this boy called Joseph ended up where? In prison. This man said, no, I have to get this boy. You know, sometimes we used to think it was about the sex. Is he the only guy who really can give that woman sex? That was the only thing they can do to him. You know, they needed to get him out of that house. At that point, Potiphar's wife was jealous. The cooks, the cleaners, he had made everybody irrelevant. When you bring in somebody with an excellent spirit, he will top the class. He will be number one. He will walk with such strength and grace and resilience that if you are the boss of such a person, you have rest. Who doesn't want somebody that gives him rest? Who doesn't want somebody that takes instruction? Who doesn't want somebody that you speak to and then you can go and sleep and you are sure that thing gets done? And then tomorrow somebody turns around and said, no, that woman did nothing extra. All she has done is that she's only being herself. He's only being himself. And people don't like him. They don't like her. That's just the truth, because they always expose the weakness in the system and they always expose the error of others. And so if you have to have an excellent spirit, get ready for gang up. Get ready for people to try to destroy whatever you are doing or to destroy you. But guess what? If you have an excellent spirit, if you come into a place that have an excellent spirit, everything is in order. Flowers, furniture, even if the person is walking, corners, building, everything is excellent. It's in the eyes. Is in the spirit to acquire it. And that's why the way to get it is to keep close to those who have it. I taught that yesterday. Make mentors of those who have it. Be raised by people who have it. If you don't find a system that have an excellent spirit and you allow it to work in your life, one day that spirit will rub off on you. If you catch that spirit, you have caught the spirit that will take you to the high places. Some parents have it. They impacted it to their family and their children have it. But in case that it wasn't where you were born and it never got impacted and you find yourself working in an environment where it is, then better receive it. Receiving excellent spirit is the greatest way to be impacted and to make fast progress. As I speak to you this morning, I am sure, because the Bible said the king gave thought to setting him over the whole realm. Men that have excellent spirit, it doesn't take time for them to be set over the whole realm. I've known people who have been drivers. They come in as drivers, but with this excellent spirit, it will not be long. They will be the top managers because of consistency and because of honesty, because of loyalty. These are men who have specific characteristics that proves them to be courageous, particularly loyalty. They are men that are dependable. And then we see in this story, concluding the story of Joseph anyhow, then it landed him in prison. But even in prison, you couldn't do away with him. There was a way he behaved. I mean, if you take an excellent man to the prison, when he enters, the warden will know that he's not a criminal, no matter what you want to put on him. And before you know it, every prisoner was looking up to him. See, that means you cannot cage him. You cannot put him inside the pit, he will come out. Put him inside the prison, he will come out. And where did he land? As soon as he landed, of course, as soon as God finished his training, allowed him into the palace, he went up again. Listen, my people, if you have an excellent spirit, you can never go down. I'm telling you sincerely. There's no need backbiting people. There's no need gossiping, backstabbing, thinking you can remove people by pull him down so that you can come up. Even if you come up very soon, who you are will soon be exposed. And I tell you, it won't last. No matter how you want to manipulate the system, you will soon find out that very soon everybody, except if you are going to introduce witchcraft in the system, where people will start by lying operation, dark powers working in darkness to keep the system confused. But if you come into a place where there is light, or you are working with a servant of God who has light, or you are in a place where the Spirit of God rules, you cannot survive. You can't. Why? Because the light will soon expose you. And very soon everybody will know the character and truly who you are. And I tell you sincerely, people, enough of this atmosphere of darkness in the house of God. Enough of this manipulation in the works of the things of God. Enough of that. It's time for the light to arise out of us. It's time for us to shine. And I believe God in this season, as we engage in this fast, this morning, in the little things that is in your hands to do, try to be the best. Do it better than any other person can do it. Do it for your own soul. Do it for your own spirit. Do it because this is the right thing to do. I often tell my sons and daughters, if you keep working evil and iniquity and lies while you are under a mentor or you are being taught, when you start your own business is what you are going to do. You don't get retrained, is your mindset. As a man thinketh, so is he. So if you are constantly cheating and you are constantly undermining your boss, the day you become your own boss, your mind will be the same. The same way you served is the same way you will work. Don't think it's going to change. It doesn't change. So it's either you are training for excellence or you are training for doom. Many people today, their business went down because they were cheating. How many times do you think you can cheat a customer? How many times? If you keep cheating customers, very soon your customers will know that you are a cheat. And they're of course going to turn away. Are you understanding me? Very soon they're going to turn away. If you keep giving people the wrong things, one everybody will know you. And your name will be bad. Your name will be smelling like you are evil. And people are going to walk away from you. For a season you may succeed. But one day the light will come into the system. And the light will reveal the evil that you have been living. Do you know, if you have a quality product, keep it up. With time, those who have used their product 10, 15 years, they'll know that you are good. There's some experience I've had. As a decorator, interior designer, before I entered into ministry, I have homes that I made curtains I decorated 25 years ago. Do you know that almost those homes, their curtains are still the way they were hanging, stay hanging that way. Their furnitures are still the same. And many of them, when I go there, their homes, that's just the way it was. Because I remember I must have, if I've not done furnishing or not decorated homes, I could tell you I was probably and maybe one of the fastest growing furniture companies, Century 21. And I did cut and sew almost every curtain I did hang. Nobody ever cut a curtain or took a measurement for me. And I'm talking about hundreds upon hundreds of homes. I worked harder through the night. And that is even why as a minister it's still not difficult. Because I picked every curtain that I sewed and I cut it myself. And I did installation by myself. So there was this signature and handwriting of excellence on those things. And I could tell you, even when I got into fast food, Nourisher fast food, every single thing must have a taste. And it just follows you. Those who know me will say you have a Midas touch. Everything you touch always prospers and succeeds. Whether you are in ministry, whether you are in business, whether you are in friendship, whether you are in relationship, you are either true or you are false. You are either a cheat or you are successfully somebody who loves people and you are generous. You are either a liar or you are a truthful person. And relationship will soon prove you. See, people can accuse you. People can go behind you and tell all kinds of things. They don't know you. And you know something? When you encounter people who don't have excellent spirits, who are mediocres, they'll look for one story, tell against you and move away. Time will tell. The mediocres will move far from revelation, from there's a word I want to say, from relevance. Mediocres over time, they will all end up not being relevant. But if you have been honest, if you have been sincere, if you have been doing what is right, time will tell. All those mediocres are going to come back. When their businesses are all folded up, your own will still be there. The things I shared this morning, I shared still out of my experiences in business. Because then I will bring Christians. I will say, when I was not yet a pastor. Once you come and you talk and you say Jesus, I think that is the way it is. But time have taught me that many people who call themselves Christians are not trustworthy. It's just unfortunate. They just carry the title. And unbelievers will open their business, bring you in, that the people who have liquidated most companies. So I believe now that you should not know a Christian by title. You should know a Christian by the Spirit. Whoever does not have and does not possess the Spirit of excellence does not possess the Spirit of Christ. I know then in the 70s and 80s, if you're looking for a cashier, get an SU girl. You can go to sleep because she will give you your money. She will not steal from you. Today we have Christians who dress like they're born again. I mean, people, before you talk to them, they tell you, I'm from deeper life. Beware. Beware. You don't know Christians by where they come from anymore. Every person now must be tested because we have so many wolves that have taken on the sheep clothing. And they know. So once you tell me you're from deeper life, I'm immediately suspicious of you. You don't have to tell me that. If you're from deeper life, why shouldn't I experience you? You just want to confuse me by making me, I want to buy, so start telling me I'm a Christian, you're a child of God. You don't have to announce these things. Why not just continue your transaction? If you be a child of God, I will know. If you're a Christian, I will know. If you're SC brought up, I will know. Because the way you will live, the way you conduct, you see, is not hidden. Sincerity is open. Loyalty is open. Honesty is open. If you are hardworking, if you are open, let me take your product home. If I use it and it returns what you promised, I will come back and buy it. I will always be there because everybody wants to get a good product. Everybody wants to get for whatever it is you have. But don't you want to have a return on your investment? You do want that. Yes, you do. And so we see a lot of fake people, fake Christians, fake men, fake women who are pastors, fake people who are claiming things that they are not. And I believe, God, that if you must change, start with today. Change your attitude towards work. Change your attitude towards the work that you are doing. Wherever you are hired to work, change your attitude. There are many traits that mark an excellent spirit in a man. If you bring him into work and you ask him to do something, the way he goes about his work is different. It's very easy to see it. A man who has the attitude, such a man like Daniel was preferred because of his attitude towards work. He comes early. Not only does he come early, he makes sure he completes his assignment. Not only does he complete his assignment, he always goes out of his way to make sure that whoever he has done anything for is satisfied. You know, some people don't care. They just collect your money and then they do rubbish and give you. Is it their business? Sometimes if you're unfortunate and you meet with them, they'll collect the money to pay their rent, to eat, and to solve their problem. That's what the work is all about. Whether they did the work, they don't care. They will just go and get one inferior thing, make all the profit at once. This is the mark of a very poor man. A rich man will add his own money to please and satisfy you and maintain that business. You keep coming back. One day he will get that profit. But a poor man will collect all the gain by first encounter and even abandon the work. And he keeps abandoning, hoping that one day he will get rich. When is he going to get rich? When everybody already knows him for abandoning the work. Imagine the day his name will be raised. Everybody will be confirming that he's an untrustworthy servant or a worker. I believe, God, this should not be shared among the Christians and children of God. Number two, you must be a man of priority. You must be a man of priority. To become a worker in the vineyard and to become a worker of excellence, to have that spirit of excellence. A worker with the spirit of excellence must understand priority. Keeping God's work central in one's life is another important evidence of an excellent spirit. Inspiration and experience alike teach us that our advocate and our vocation, whatever it is that we do, must make God first in it. I remember then when I had not gone full-time in ministry. If you do come into our fast food, oh my God, I preached every day and everywhere around it. As soon as you come in from the door, you'll be saying, have you read your Bible today? We're going to see things in everybody who is around. I mean, everybody, once you are my staff, we have to pray. We have to pray because every business must have an altar backing it. I remember then when we were doing furniture, that one was extreme. Say extreme. That was about 20 years ago, but it worked. That was when I was this fanatical, unbalanced child. I mean, I thought it was like that. I was still excited. I was still trying to get myself. Do you know I will come to work, Me, I was still practicing pastor, and I started practicing with my workers. So I'm going to start prayer by maybe 7 o'clock, and we're going to pray till 12 o'clock, 12 p.m., That day I'll say, okay, it's all right, everybody go home. That's how I started learning how to preach, So I did that, but it paid off. It paid off because all those years, that was the year I made my turnover. Listen, 20 years ago, a turnover of 100 million naira, because we never lost anything. Even though I was practicing preaching, but it entered the life and the spirit of our workers. Throughout that period, I never lost anything. Throughout that period, I never had issue with any staff. I'm looking back, out of the stars I worked with then in furniture, not even one of them will say they had a problem. I'm still waiting for that staff that will come up and say, I had this loss, I had a problem, or I had this. My problem actually started when I started fast food, when I came into ministry. And I surrendered myself with those pastors, and then they bring their family members, and then me, I was excited. Oh, fine, now I'm coming into ministry. Now I'm becoming, let me relate with the pastors. I mean, I'm now getting to associate. That's when my problem started. I began to learn wickedness. I handed things over to them. Thinking I met with people, they dealt with me big time. They showed me that it was not what I was reading. That's what it was. I mean, this is about 15 years ago. I don't know how terrible or how bad things can be now. Because now in ministry, I am in the center of my work and assignment with God. You can actually call me a church rat, whatever you like. Call me, I don't know. Call me a fanatic. I don't care. I don't have that money, but I don't lack. I live better than any king that you know. Why? Because I'm supplied by heaven. Anything I need, God provides it instantly and as that when need. So when I say I've not done business for 15 years, it's incredible. But I don't know how many people who are provided for as heaven does provide in the past 15 years, because I just have God in the center of my heart. And I wake up thinking God, I sleep thinking God. And anybody close to me knows I talk God, I speak God, I go to bed, wake up, all is in God. And guess what? God started connecting my husband, my wife, my husband, my children, family, brother, sister, everything around me. God started connecting everything, my mind, my body, my soul, and my spirit. If I don't have God in 1 hour, I disappear. Don't take God from me for 1 second. I'm done. I'm gone. Let me just leave God for a day. Can a fish survive outside water without God? It's impossible. Yes, it's possible to come to that dimension. I'm glad I'm speaking on my altar, so you know me. I'm not preaching in Lagos or Abuja. I've been like this for 15 years, I'm sure. Or even 20 years. I talk God morning till night. I wake up God, I sleep God, I eat God, I drink God, I live in God, I swim in God. And am I living it out with so much joy and peace? Yes. I tell you, this God is an unending light. You can't quench his light. He's dependable. Yes, you can actually trust on him. This God, yes. Yes, I know and I'm sure. And you can't walk with God like this and lack an excellent spirit. You can't. If you're in God, that spirit will take you over. And before you know it, people are always coming around. They want to know what is the secret. It's God. Living in him. Making God your priority. When you put God first in everything, the Spirit of God will take over and he will do things for you in a way that you can't even do for yourself. You can't even imagine. You need God today. Wherever you are, bow down your head. You need God today. Talk to God. Ask God, take over my life so that you become my priority.